And so he came down when we dedicated the collection in 1946. This is the next couple of pictures will be pictures of Dorothy Porter. Now, most people remember Dorothy as an older lady, but that was why I wanted to put the younger picture on the cover so that people could see her at a young age, working very hard at Howard University. This is her in the stack area. Our stack area, we had 2 floors of materials. Of course, we never had enough room, and that was one of the complaints that Dorothy Porter always complained about. We never had enough room, and we never had enough staff, and we never had enough money to buy the things that she needed to buy. So, and of course, all libraries have that same problem. But she was very, very vocal in trying to get materials. And one of the things that she did, she would go around and collect materials. On the back of the book, you might see that they call her the shopping bag lady. The story goes in Washington, D.C., is that when you died, that as the hearse was they were taking your body out of the house, she was in there with her shopping bag, picking up stuff. So, and that is really how we got a lot of the materials, because she went and collected the materials. And that was also a time when, our materials were not considered important. So, and that is how we lost many of our collections, because they weren't thought to be important. So she collected everything. She collected posters, anything that you could think of, pictures, books, anything that you could think of. And she also, as she traveled around the country, she was married to, her first husband was James Porter, who was chair of the art department there. And of course, they traveled the world. He would do his paintings, and she'd go around looking for materials. So a lot of times when she'd go out to other countries, she would set up exchange programs where they would send their materials to Moreland, and she would send materials that she had extra copies to them. So it was a lot of times when, even though you didn't have the money to buy what you needed to buy, a lot of times you could get it through exchange purposes. And a lot of people donated their collections there because of her, because of the fact that she helped so many people. And that was one of the things that Dorothy Porter was noted for. What I did, since I am an oral historian as well, I've interviewed a lot of people that she helped over the years. And one of the people that she helped was Dr. John Hope Franklin, the gentleman that wrote From Slavery to Freedom. Well, he was also working on a book, George Washington Williams, and he couldn't find any information. So he was in Moreland one day, and he told Dorothy Porter that he couldn't find any information on this gentleman he was looking for. So a few days later, here comes Dorothy Porter, walks up to him and gives him a letter. And that letter is from George Washington Williams to Mordecai Johnson, and he's trying to gain interest into Howard University. He said it had lots of misspelled words and things on it, but that was the spark that got him going on trying to finish this research on George Washington Williams. So I had many, many stories like that of people that she helped and really went out of her way to find materials to help them do their research. And people came from across the world. Even when I was working there, one of my people that I had was a lady from India. And when she published a book, the only thing I could read in it was my name. But she came and wrote a book on black women who would do in literature. But people from all over the world would come to Moreland Spingarn Research Center. But mainly that was because of Dorothy Porter Wesley and the collections that she helped to get there, because almost anybody that was doing research in black history had to come to the Moreland Spingarn Research Center. They almost had to come there because that was where most of the materials were. This is a group of ladies that came from New Guinea. And again, as I say, Dorothy Porter helped everyone. These ladies came to the United States to study English. And so she was one of the people that helped them to find housing, to make sure that they got fed. So all kinds of things like that. So she just didn't do the research and going out looking for books and things. She also had that personal touch where she would help people. And that was what it was all about. This picture is a picture of around 1969, the Ford Foundation finally decided that they were going to start giving money to Black History collections so that they could buy books. And this is a group of black chairs of different colleges. Of course, Dorothy Porter was there from Moreland Spingarn. But they all met so that they could talk about what the things that they needed in their collections. And one of the librarians told me that when they started giving the grants at Ford, you know, not everyone knew how to write in a grant language. You know, you have to, there's a certain way you write to get that grant in that language that they'll give you some money. Well, she said those of us that knew how to write these grants and had been taught how to write them, we also helped the smaller schools get their grants. So sometimes they bring their proposal to us, and we would help them rewrite it and get it in grant language so that everybody across the country could have some materials dealing with Black history. So that was one of the things that Dorothy Porter was really, really adamant about, was that we helped everybody, we helped each other. It wasn't just, we wanted to get the stuff that Moreland spent on and nobody else would have it. No, we wanted materials across this country on Black history so that everybody could have a chance to study Black history. This is Dorothy Porter in Nigeria. And from 1962 to 64, she had a Ford Foundation grant, and she went over to Nigeria to help them set up the National Library of Nigeria. This is her in Senegal at a Negritude conference. She was invited to many, many conferences. She spoke all over the country. And then when people came here, she would also try to have them come to the campus to speak. So it was a thing where we wanted people to know what was going on in other countries, where we wanted people to know who these people were. So Senghor came to the campus several times to speak, and all kinds of people came over there to speak at Howard University, and most of them knew Dorothy Porter because she had always traveled to that country to help them with their getting their libraries together. This is she's in Senghor. Dakar. That's where she is there. She's at a conference. So again, she was invited to all kinds of conferences all over the world because of her knowledge of Black history. This is she and her first husband, James Porter, there in Nigeria at a cocktail party. So as again, she stayed there for 2 years and then went back several times after that. This is Dorothy Porter with Joseph Reason. And Joseph Reason was the head of the university library there on the campus, and Moreland Spingarn was under the university library. So they worked very, very closely in getting materials there on the campus. One of the things that Dorothy would do that the African students really loved was that she got the newspapers from their countries. And a lot of times the students would come in to read the newspapers from their homeland because that was the only communication that they had back, because there wasn't a lot of travel back and forth once they got to the United States. So she made sure that the newspapers were there so that they could come in and read about their home country. Dorothy Porter received all kinds of awards. Again, she helped everybody. Anybody that came there that wanted to do research, not only did she help the students there on the campus, one of the things that she did when they started teaching the Black history courses on campus, she would make sure that the instructors knew what books were there in that particular subject. She would have all the librarians prepare bibliographies on these particular subjects, get them to those instructors so that they could share them with their students and have their students come in and do research. So that was one of the reasons why Howard is one of the best places to come and do research, because she was there and she made sure that the instructors had the information so that they could give it to the students as well. So it wasn't just for the scholars to come in, it was also for the students to come in and use it, selection. So she got many, many awards, and I'll just show a couple of them here. This is her, she retired in 1973 from Howard after being there for 43 years. Now, just because she retired didn't mean she stopped. So the next few pictures are her retirement pictures from Howard. And the last one, once she retired, they would name the reading room the Dorothy Porter Room. And of course, I don't know if you know that Sterling Brown, noted literature guy there with her. There's a couple more retirement pictures. Again, she was on all kinds of committees. This is an oral history committee from the Schlesinger Library. They had organized the Black Women's Oral History Project, and she was on the planning committee for that. Anytime anyone had anything going on committees, anything that they wanted help with, they always called on Dorothy Porter because they knew that she would make sure that she got, she served on the committees, and she actually worked. She didn't come there to sit there as a figurehead. She actually came there and worked. And she and Carter G. Woodson were very, very good friends because when she first came to Howard, she said she didn't know anything about Black history because she grew up in Montclair, New Jersey, in an Irish neighborhood. So when she finally got to Howard, she didn't know any Black history. So she went to Carter G. Woodson, who had just started doing Black History Week. So they became very, very good friends over the years. And she was on the executive council for many years. So she was also with the African Studies Association, again, because she helped so many African students and because she published a lot. Dorothy Porter did a lot of publishing. She wanted to make sure that things got out to the public. So she made sure that she published, and she helped everybody else that was trying to publish. When I started doing my publications, I went to sit at her feet, and she gave me the tidbits of information and advice. So I was one of the people that she did help over the years. This is Dorothy Porter after she retired. She came back to Moreland Spin Garn. She helped us, especially with our newspaper collections, because one of the things we tried to do is collect Black newspapers from across the country. And then she also helped us get grants to put them on microfilm, because that was what you used during the day. Now everything's online, but during that time we got grants to put things on microfilm. And she was very good at getting grant money. This is a picture of her receiving an alumni award from Howard University. She not only graduated from Minor Teachers College, she graduated from Howard, and she also got her master's in library science from Columbia. She was also a Delta, and so the Deltas also gave her an award. All right, Deltas? Okay. Yeah, so she was a very proud Delta. This is one of the book signings for Sharon Harley and Rosalind Turbo Kenn's book on Black women. As I said, all of us, when we started doing Black women's history and started teaching it on campus, I taught it at University of Maryland for a few years, but there was not a lot of materials out there. There was materials published, but we had to start putting them in bibliography so that we could give them to the people that were teaching the courses in Black women's history so that they would have a syllabus to give to their students. So she was instrumental in helping us, all of us, especially in Black women's history, to get those bibliographies done and to get them out. Sharon Farley tells the story about coming to Dorothy Porter's house after she retired several years later when she was married to Charles Wesley. She said she would go and help Dorothy Porter work. And she said they would get up early in the morning and they would start working. They'd work into the night. So Sharon said, I'd come over there and I'd help them. I'd be there all day. She said, but I'd get tired. He said, I want to go home. And she said, Dorothy Porter looked at her one day and said, you young people just don't have any stamina. So Dorothy was a funny person too. She liked to joke with you. But she really helped all of us. And this is Dorothy Porter with her second husband, Charles Wesley. She was married to two very famous men. So Charles Wesley had been president of two universities. So they were married late in life and spent, I think, about the last 12, I think he was married about 12 years before he passed away as well. But again, they were very instrumental in getting work done. That's one of his books that he was working on, William Cooper Nail, when he died. She started working on him, William Cooper Nail, to finish that book for him. And of course, she died before it was finished, and her daughter ended up publishing that for her. But she published several books after she retired. She was a fireball. She worked and worked and worked. This is Dorothy Porter and James Cheek cutting the ribbon to what became the Howard University Museum. And you remember when I showed that very first picture of Kelly Miller? Kelly Miller back in the 30s had started a campaign to start a Howard University Museum. He died before that ever came to fruition. And she continued to work on that project, and it did not happen until 1979, so 30-something years after Kelly Miller passed. But she made it happen. And one of the things about the museum, the book collection was one thing where you could come in and use the books, but we also wanted to show some of the artifacts and things that we had there in the Moreland Spin Garn Research Center. So that's what we did in the museum. A lot of, some of the exhibits were like sometimes we had African gold weights, we had articles of clothing, like we have Frederick Douglass's skull cap and eyeglasses. So things of that nature that you don't see in the book collection that are in the artwork or with the artifacts. We wanted to show what we had there as artifacts in the Morton Spring Garden Research Center. So she was very instrumental, and we'll say, although this came about after she retired, they brought her back because she was the one that was instrumental in finishing and getting that museum open. And again, she helped so many people. The gentleman sitting down writing is David Driscoll, the David Driscoll Center is named for him at the University of Maryland. Again, she helped everyone, anyone that came there. Langston Hughes, W.B. Du Bois, John Blassingame, Darlene Clark Hahn. Everybody had a wonderful story that was still, that I could talk to, that was still living, that I talked to, had wonderful stories to talk about how Dorothy Porter had helped them with their research. And this is Dorothy and her daughter, Connie. They only had one child, she and James Porter. And Connie inherited all three of those collections when Dorothy passed. This is Dorothy at one of the years we have decided to have a Black Bibliophiles conference, and these were people that collected Black history, and we wanted to bring some of them in to talk about their collections, and then some that we gave papers on some of the ones that had passed. And of course, she was one of the collectors as well. She didn't, although she said she wasn't, but believe me, her 5-bedroom house was packed to the brim with materials. So she definitely was a collector. So